to 3Share's webinar series, Evolve with 3Share. Today, we have a panel of experts here to talk about using AI in AEM and other CMS tools. Today, we have Gordon Pike, Clemente Pereyra, Jorge Chércoles, and Rabiah Coon. Would you all like to take a second to introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Gordon Pike. I'm a technical architect here at 3Share. I've been with the company for 9 years now, and I've worked for quite a few different, I've been in the industry for 30 years and worked with some AI in certain capacities at McKesson, and excited to be here. Thanks.
Cool. I go next. My name is Clemente, Director of Technology for 3Share. I have been working here for around 7 years or so, and in the industry, maybe 15 years. I'm from Argentina, but I have been living in Madrid for the last 5 years or so. I come from a very technical background. I was working as a technical architect, developer too, mostly around web development, and nowadays I'm pretty much like a AI follower. So I'm really excited to be here and just hear and talk about all the opportunities that AI can bring us.
Okay, so my name is Jorge. I'm a backend developer, AEM specifically, and I've been working with 3Share for half a year now, and I have a background of about 3 years in AEM technology. Yeah, I'm very thankful for being here in this series of people talking about this term of AI, which I found very exciting too.
Cool. And I'm Rabiah Coon. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager at 3Share. I've been here for about 7 years as well. And about 5.5 years was actually as a project manager working on AEM projects. I'm the least technical possibly of this group. And I'm really excited to be here too and just talk about AI.
Okay, so the format of today's discussion is going to be a little bit different than the ones we've had in the past if you've been on any of those calls. We're going to start with a demo quick by Jorge, and then Rabiah will lead a roundtable discussion about the various aspects of AI. Also, just keep an eye on the chat throughout. The poll tab in the chat on the bottom. We're going to have some poll questions throughout about what we're talking about. So just keep an eye on for that. And then if you have any questions, you can definitely submit them in the chat.
Cool. Thanks, Payton. And so first of all, like she said, Jorge is going to talk about some AI features that we built in our own AEM sandbox. So Jorge, take it away and I'll be back.
Thank you very much. Let's see. Okay, so here's the video playing. Let's focus on it. Okay, we'll have the video playing in the background showing how it integrates with AEM, but I'm going to talk more about what we've built, the value we can provide from it, and what are the next steps on integrating AEM with AI. Okay, so at the very beginning, we have some brainstorming session where Clemente and I actually brainstorm a little bit about possible integrations we can do, and we came up with some integrations that provides value for the end user. Okay, for example, from text-to-speech, if you want to create an audio file for your article, and the other way around, speech-to-text, which is also very common to see if your content is very audiovisual, either video or podcast, for example, is very common to see the transcript down. And you can actually empower this with AI. And we also find the other side of the coin with providing value for content creators, for example, writing text or translating text, for example. The ones we ended up choosing to implement was the summary of the text, extracting keywords, and generating image descriptions. Okay, if we have seen the video, we have gone through all 3 of them, and we also have a blog for it in case you want to take a deep look of the integration. There is more information there. Okay. About the technology, we decided to integrate it with OpenAI. It was probably the cheapest service right now in the market, and it's very, very easy to integrate and very powerful. But for example, we could have used a vision model different for for the image generation, because instead of using the Adobe Smart Tags we are using here, we are losing a lot of context by removing the image in the first place. So the alt generation can lead to a different description that we are expecting to. For example, Azure offers a vision model called Describe Image that can do actually this process very easy. It took about 2 or 3 days to implement, and I think we managed to get a very good value from it. But this is just like the baby steps for the integration, okay? Right now, we are researching more complex implementation, and we will discuss some of our thoughts in different topics in this meeting. And for example, an example of a full workflow integration could be, given the examples below we have seen here, we can, for example, iterate, create a keyword for the text in the first place, looping over that generation process. The content creator can decide whether it is it's a valid keyword or not. Okay, so there has to be an expert here in the process, and after that, it can suggest some changes to optimize your text for the given keywords in order to optimize the sale of the changes. The same way, these changes can be applied or not by the expert. So in case he doesn't think it's the best option, this can be work in a more iterative way, so you can find the most value from it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the demo. As I said, you can see the more in-depth examples in the blog. So if you want to jump to that at the end of the session, go ahead.
All right. So now I'm going to leave you guys to your roundtable. If you have any questions, like I said, you guys can ask on the side, and we'll get to that at the end. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Payton. So yeah, I mean, that was, first of all, a really cool demo, Jorge, and thanks for showing us how you applied some use cases to AEM, you and Clemente. And it really shed some light, I think, on how companies can adopt it too. And, you know, we've seen a lot of different aspects of AI in the news lately, whether we're just a layman using it, kind of like me, or someone looking at more technical things. But like students are using it to write papers. People have been creating fantasy photos of themselves. I didn't do that because I didn't want them to have my photo. You know, but other people did, and people using it for developing in the podcasting world, a world I'm in my personal life. I've been using actually it for a while just to create transcriptions, and that's really helpful for accessibility. So it's been very helpful to me. But there's just a lot of talk about the implications of it and what's going to happen, but also how it can be used in a CMS like AEM or another CMS. So I think the first thing I want to ask you guys is, like, we saw 3 great use cases implemented. What are some other ways you're seeing people can use AI? So I think maybe Gordon, if you want to start.
Sure, I can start. You know, there's a lot of different ways using AI. One for content generation or for imaging. It's actually into voice and now with music as well. So there's a lot of different areas of our lives that will be impacted by AI, and ways that we can leverage it so that we can be more efficient. So there's a lot of different AI image generators out there now. OpenAI, Adobe Firefly, Blue Whale, Leonardo's an interesting one. Midjourney is definitely the standout right now, and Stable Diffusion. There's different models, and all of these AIs, they rely on a large language model, and what that does is allow them to be able to understand your text inputs and be able to manipulate images and create either new images or be able to modify existing images. So we can see applications of that in what we do. Especially within design. So being able to mock out a design quickly, this can give a designer the ability to ask for different designs, get some ideas, and then be able to generate their own. Or as a vehicle to be able to talk with customers and quickly put something together and see where, what catches their eye, where their interests are, and then be able to concentrate on those areas to get the best design. Some of the limitations with AI, with imaging so far is text. You'll notice if you spend any time looking at all the images, they have symbols that look like text, but they're not able at this point to really do it. For example, an image with a signpost. It'll look like a signpost, and it'll be a really great signpost, but they point to nowhere because the text on those are just symbols. So that'll increase as we do projects, that'll increase the startup time of a project and be able to narrow down to where we want to go to begin with. And it can be used to help maintain brand consistency. So color grading, for instance, you can do that within the AI, instead of post-processing in PostScript or in Photoshop or some other editor. Color grading is the signature of usually of a photographer, and so you can give the same look and feel to all of the images that you'll be using on the site. The composition, you can provide some consistency with aspect ratios or cropping and the scaling in the layout, and then personalization, being able to take one image and then personalize it for a different set of users without having to have go ahead and go through another effort in order to get those images in place. And to get anything out of the imaging software, it's all about the prompts that you feed it. It's an art and a science both at the same time, and it depends. You can ask the same prompt 10 times and get different results. Here's an example of two of them that we generated, and it gives you an idea of how intricate those prompts are, and that's why you're seeing when people are talking about prompts and spending a lot of time with them, that that's where you can really shine with the images. There's like in these two, I did those both on Leonardo, and they have both the prompt and then the native prompts, because one of the things that the AI does a lot is it may put extra limbs in, or it may have two faces, or one of the things that it has a difficult time with is action shots. So it may have an image of LeBron James dunking, but his foot is facing backwards. So those kind of things are, since it's in its infancy, those are things that we're seeing, but with some work that you can get those cleaned up. So I went on a mission I wanted hair like Fabio. Mine's been short for a long time, so I was wondering what I'd look like. So I used Leonardo and was able to go through many iterations, and a lot of them were not keepers. You can see how it went through different iterations, and some of them are actually kind of scary. But in the end, I think that we got what we came for. I mean, you can't tell the difference, right? So we will see a lot of aspects where will you be using imaging and video and those, and be able to use those as content managers to enhance our websites.
Awesome, Gordon. I think I didn't realize that, but you could definitely maybe start doing like romance novel covers after you're done here.
Yeah.
That's in your future. That'll definitely work. All right, Clemente, what about you? Do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, sure. Just following on the use cases, and actually something that Gordon just mentioned about brand consistency, and he mentioned that on the images area, but also that kind of applies also into the text, like into the content that you create as a company. You may have like, I don't know, a team of 20 different people creating content for you, even though you always have like the guidelines of the company, like the tone of the company, they always may differ, which on a way it's good because it tells you about it. It's a person behind that. But sometimes you would prefer that all the content that you create is created in the same way, with the same tone, with the same type of words, let's say. So that is one thing that AI could help you with. Like probably some of you already play with ChatGPT and try to ask, like, or if not, maybe if you're like teachers complaining about this use case that I'm going to tell you about, it's like when you can write and ask ChatGPT, for example, write me an essay about, I don't know, the impact of AI in the future as if I were 10 years old kid. So ChatGPT and many others, AI not only can write essay, but they can write it in a certain way, in a certain tone. So that could benefit the company. So you can teach in a way the AI, you can train the AI to respond and to write in a way that your company is comfortable with, following the same expression, the same tone of the content that you typically create. So that is a great use case that you can have, because it allows you to create more content, of course, quickly, but also in the way that you like. You don't have to spend much time reviewing or rewriting things. Also, like, associated with this is we are talking about company's tone, but of course there are all different languages, and we know that AI can handle a lot of different languages. But the cool thing about it's not only about languages; it also would allow you to write or to create text, to create content in certain dialects, using slang, using idioms. Like you can write, as you know, I'm from Argentina, so it's so different the way you would write for a company in Spain that you would do in Argentina, for example. We use different words, even though the language is the same. We use pretty much very different words and even different type of verbs. Like the conjugation of the verbs are different, the way you pronounce them. So you can even use AI to do this type of thing, to be very, very localized. So you would write something not only in English, but you would write it in English, Canadian English, and United States English, British English. That would allow you to do that. AI would allow you to do that too. Of course, with the proper training, resources, time, and everything. Same way as we were talking about the company's tone. If you want that, you probably are in the social media, right? You have to publish, you have to be there in social media. Everyone needs to be there nowadays. So it can even create tweets for you. You know that the tweet is kind of a genre, so it's a way that you can write something really in few words, and using hashtag is key, using emojis. So we all know this type of thing. So AI can do that too. I mean, you can even try that very easily with ChatGPT, for example, which is free nowadays. So you just maybe throw down an article or some piece of text and ask the AI, okay, write me now a tweet about this. And it will create a tweet, which will be, of course, kind of a summary of what you have, but also it will even add hashtags. So it will recognize some keywords and will create hashtag from them. And it could even add emojis. Actually, this is something we did as part of our POC. It was pretty simple to implement. I mean, just like I think Jorge mentioned, it took us like 2 or 3 days, more or less, to do that. We did it with OpenAI. There are many other ways, many other companies providing similar services. But it was a very interesting use case that provided a lot of value. I could provide a lot of value because you can not only create a tweet, but you can even program to be posted in certain day. So you can have your ongoing presence in the social media with just maybe 10 minutes of you checking in and approve or disapprove. That's all you need. So it's more of these use cases that you can use. This is on the text area, let's say. And there are many more. And I think maybe Jorge has more of that about search specifically.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit about the search section. It's kind of related to the text, but I'm going through some examples of how can we use AI for powering your search in any website. Okay, there are many services. We will see later a few of them examples, but basically we can group three different types. We can use the semantic search, which is the one we are we are used to when searching for Google. And right now with the new bar model that released Google, you actually have a first paragraph with the text selected of exactly what you're looking at or what you're looking for. So we can use, even though you don't have to search for the specific keyword, you can get the same result. Okay, this is probably, we will see a next slide, example of how this information is represented. But basically is the relationship between the words. For example, a cat and a dog are grouped into the animals the same way as the king and the queen is grouped into the royalty, for example. So whether you are looking in one of those three words, you can actually get a result that groups to what you are expecting to receive. Another example could be, for example, recommendation systems. I'm not really talking about for example, Amazon like in depth, because that's a very, very more complex architecture. But you can provide some value about the recent search of a user, for example, grouping all that to provide similar products in an e-commerce, for example, when he logins in the page, or for example, for marketing emails or something like that, you can power those systems with recommendation powered by AI. And the other one, which is I think is pretty awesome, is the similarity search, which is more focused on the images. Okay, I can go through the next slide where we can see 3D visualization of what is called an embedding. Okay, which is basically all the words that your model for the search knows. Okay, it can be mapped into a 3D space, we can see here. And for example, there we go, sorry. We can see here the 3D space with all the words. And for example, for the marketing, we can see that the nearest space is advertising, sale, corporate, business, management. It does make sense, actually. Okay, this is actually for TensorFlow. We have the URL at the bottom, the word to back 10K words. Okay, so the vocabulary is actually 10K words. If you search for a word that doesn't know, and here is the issue of this system, is that you can't get any result from that because he doesn't know the word and doesn't know how to relate to any other. But having, for example, OpenAI have one embedded, and that's the one I've been researching later. They are extremely powerful in terms of semantic search between words. Okay, and here, for example, we can see the meanest dataset, which is basically, there's an image broken here, right? In the slide, I didn't check that. It's basically a set of handwritten numbers. Okay, and we can see here in the image that, for example, we can see that all the numbers are grouped down to the bottom. There is also back in purple, we can see the sevens, but they are kind of mixed with the fours. So because those numbers, as they are handwritten, can be sometimes confused between them. So you can see how all this information, even for images, can be mapped in a way that you can segment those spaces to actually find what you're looking for. Okay. And well, there are many ways you can actually empower your website with this. You can either build your own with Elastic, Solar, or Redis, which already offer a solution based for this type of search. You will have to integrate somehow the embedding, which, for example, with OpenAI, I think is actually the best solution right now. But there are also software as a service available. You can contact to the company, for example, Objects or Alcolia, that are focused on this marketing side for years from now. So if you want to try that out on your website, or your website is not that big, maybe you are more interested in building your own, but probably for a bigger company, a software as a service fits better your needs. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's pretty much, yeah, about search.
That's great, guys. So, I mean, yeah, there's a ton of use cases and there's a ton of ways already that we're thinking of, and I'm sure people are coming up with more just outside of here. So it'll be cool when we hear from people about that. But like, I guess, can you share now some of, sorry, let me just get, sorry, some of the tools that are the most like influential that you think and the most kind of have the best reputations right now? So we'll start with you, Gordon.
Sure. I mean, this actually talks about pair programming, but some of the tools that are out there that are we can use today in our everyday life is of course we know that OpenGPT was bought by Microsoft and is now within Bing, so you have the power of OpenGPT in Bing. Google has their Bard, and they actually brought both of their AI groups together, and they're called under DeepMind, and so they have a few things that have been trickling out with that. They also have Coral, which is image recognition within embedded systems. So if you have a Raspberry Pi, you could actually feed it with live video, and it would be able to identify what's in the video streams. But one of the things that's important for what we do with building sites within AEM is being able to leverage it, the developers being able to leverage it. So it's not being able to generate code in place, and you can actually do that with things like ChatGPT, ask for a script and be able to put that in place. But they're more like a pair programmer for a developer. GitHub Copilot is, and then Amazon Code Whisperer. GitHub Pilot is more well used, and both of these have extensions that are embedded in current IDEs. GitHub Pilot was trained on public code repositories. It's more general purpose, could be used for many different things. But Amazon Code Whisperer is coming up quickly, and it specializes, or its area of expertise is when you're working with AWS technologies, it really does a better job than maybe GitHub Copilot. So to talk about what this means to a developer, a lot of the mundane things that you may do, or it can actually go and so for instance with Copilot, it can go take a look at all the open source GitHub repositories, and then as for instance, if you put in a comment, it can go fetch code that it takes into account the context of what you're developing and make suggestions. You can accept those suggestions, or you can modify them. But as you go on, it'll keep the context of what you're doing. So, for instance, in this demo here, we created a web service within 7 minutes, and it would calculate the distance between 2 points using the Habersign formula to be able to account for the curvature of the Earth. And when we did this for a client, it took a developer a good week to do, because they had to take a look at it and do some testing with it. And I was able to get something up and running within 7 minutes. Another place where it really shines is with testing, because you could actually start a test, and if you wanted, you could type in the latitude and longitude for Denver, and it would create two variables with those values, instead of a developer going out and Googling what is the long lat. And then did one for New York, and then it knew that what we were testing, and it suggested another variable that was the result, so that you could use that to test the code. So these are things that are going to make developers, it's not going to replace the developer, but it's going to make them more efficient and be able to get more things done, and you'd have less time, especially if a developer is a little unsure of or I shouldn't say unsure, but if they're new to what they're doing, it can make suggestions, and just by the suggestions, they can get an idea of what best practices are. I did see a new development So the gentleman was able to use OpenAI and then train it on their repository. So then he could ask questions about their own. So company, if they have have a large website, you in theory could point it to your repository and then be able to onboard new developers quickly. They can get an idea for what the lay of the land is of the code and where they should make changes, or if they make changes, what is the what is most likely the change that they need to make.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's coding wrapped up in a nutshell.
Awesome. No, cool. Thank you, Gordon. And that's great because, yeah, I think people are getting under the impression, some people are that like, oh, I can just go to any tool and just use it. And I think, if you're not using it properly, something's going to happen. You can have a problem. So what about you, Clemente? Like, what tools are you seeing that have been influential right now?
Well, of course, setting aside ChatGPT, which was a breakthrough for most people. I think that there are three big ones, at least so far, in a general way of AI. I mean, there are specific ones like Midjourney, like Gordon said, but like AWS, Google, and OpenAI, all of them have been creating a lot of really interesting tools. And I think one of the breakthrough, because nowadays is the availability and the fact that you don't have to be a super technical AI specific developer to use these tools, to use AI nowadays. For example, AWS has a product called Amazon SageMaker, which is a kind of cloud machine learning platform, which was actually launched on November 2017. So it's almost 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. But the thing nowadays is that you can create, train, and deploy machine learning models, but you can do that with almost no code. That is the great thing about it, that they have provided a lot of tools, a lot of data, that if you just know more or less the basic, I'm not saying it's super easy to do it, but I'm saying that you don't have to be a developer to do that. So just with some clicks here and there, then you can create your own setup of, you have your own machine learning model with the trained data that you have, and then you can do something else with that, of course. Then Google has something similar to that, which is TensorFlow. The fact with that is that it's open source. And Google also have, of course, a lot of tools. They are kind of well known for providing tools for research, let's say. So there's Collaboratory, which is a tool that allows you to research around AI using Python. It's kind of oriented to learn and to study all these things. And you can do that just there in your browser. You don't have to download anything, deploy any server. You don't have to do anything like that. Then, of course, I mentioned before OpenAI, which nowadays the most well-known because of ChatGPT, even though no, that's a wrong connector, but it was supported, let's say, by Microsoft. So it has a very easy and very complete API that you can use, which is mostly what we use for our POC. Mm-hmm. And well, then others like Midjourney, which Gordon said, Wonder Dynamic, which is for video edition, which is super crazy in a way that's so good. I mean, I dare everyone to go into the website, look for Wonder Dynamic and see what they can do. It's amazing. And then there are others like 11 Labs, which is for text to speech. So basically you write something and it's speak it out loud with a human voice. I mean, this has been in everywhere for a long time, and now it allows you to do it in a very human way, let's say. Yeah, I think more that's kind of the big ones I have in my mind now.
Yeah, those are cool. And I don't know, Gordon made me think I need developers, and you're kind of making me think maybe I don't need developers. I don't know, like, what, So what do you think, Jorge? Like, do I?
No, okay. Yeah, my personal opinion, as for now, not only for developers, but yeah, we need an expert eye in every process involved in AI. There are some examples that maybe there is no need. For example, you're building a spam detector, for example, just giving a random example. Probably there are many better, but there are some times that it doesn't really matter if a spam reaches your inbox instead of the spam folder. But if it happens the other way, that's awful, because you are missing very important message for your boss or whatever, and it's going to the junk folder. And that's why I think there is always need to be some kind of human, unless you don't mind to depreciate some of the output on your favor, obviously.
So I think you see it being, it's great for if there's something that's well known, something that's been around for a while, and there's a large base to be able to train AI on, then those are things where it'll work and it'll be able to crank out code. But when it's something that's new, and we'll talk about it later, but it's been, some of these AIs are I mean, it's funny they just came out and when you talk about them getting long in the tooth, but they were trained on data that may be 1 or 2 years old now, and as we know, technology changes like crazy. For instance, if you were to go query Chat GPT and ask what are some modern examples of good AI frameworks, it wouldn't know, because most of those didn't exist when it was trained. So maybe the developers will be doing more exciting things and be able to, the mundane things they'll be able to have their AI assistant do.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was feeling like saying something like, it sounds like it's just kind of a boomer versus someone who's using it.
Yeah. Back years ago, we would program in assembly and C, and nobody thought that we now have Python it. You can write 2 lines of code, and it used to take you, pages of code to do. So we'll have that same kind of evolution.
Cool. Yeah, and I guess one thing that we haven't discussed yet, and that I mean, just as someone, I mean, if I wasn't working with you guys and interested in things in a way, I wouldn't even know. But there's a cost to this, right? There's I don't mean the ethical cost and stuff, which I can go on about because that's more my background, but more the cost of money, a money cost. So I think, Clemente, you were able to look into that a little bit just when you were building stuff, but can you talk a little bit about cost implications financially?
Yeah, sure. We took a look at that when we were creating this POC. And it turns out it's super cheap in a way that's, we don't know. Right now it's super cheap, and ChatGPT, for example, is free, and there are many other tools in AI that are free nowadays. So we know what we know right now. But to give you an example, I guess for a typical blog post, let's assume a typical blog post which has around, I don't know, between 500 and 10,000 words, more or less, or even more. It's around 2 to 5 cents to create that amount of content, or to process that amount of content. So we are talking about something that is super cheap to use it nowadays. When we were working on this POC, and when we were doing a lot of testing, to create the tweet, to create the summary, the keywords, all that, it was just Jorge and me working on that. But still, we did a lot of testing, and I think the bill was like 25 cents, in total.
Yeah, so that. And I actually did more research on my own and other tags, and I haven't filled the $18 yet. It's going to run out, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, by the way, this is the cost for ChatGPT 3, right? Because when the time we did the demo, it was ChatGPT 4 wasn't released yet.
Right. This is for actually.
Just to point it out, because ChatGPT 4 is actually a little bit more expensive yet, but probably in a few months we will see that going down very quickly again, like we did with ChatGPT 3.5, actually.
Yeah, probably. And so that is in terms of text. And then when we were talking about images, like Midjourney, for example, it costs you about $10 a month, and it allows you around. I'm talking about around because it's what it gives you. It's hours of processing. It's not to give you exact amount of images, but at the end, it's more or less 200 images that you can generate just by $10 per month, which is It's a lot if you know how to use it, of course, because you know how much all the images, if you have to buy image or whatever. And the great thing about Midjourney is that you can create really super realistic images. So it could be even something that looks like a photo. It's really amazing. And then that's like the basic plan. Then you can go a little bit higher than that and just like $30 per month, and that gives you 600 images in a fast mode. But at the end, you actually have unlimited with slow, let's say, slower CPU. So just waiting until the CPU is available for you. But again, we're talking about super cheap image generation. At the end, the cost may vary, of course, in the number of interactions that you do with the model, the data that the model needs to create the response for you, and of course the complexity of it. Because we were talking about hours of CPU. So if it is super complex, if it needs a lot of data to process, then of course at the end it will cost you a little bit more. But it's all go hand in hand with knowing what you're doing, knowing what you want, and knowing how to ask the right question just like you do, and many people have been using ChatGPT and have been realizing that, just like when we started Googling, we now are very good at Googling and we can find things really quickly, and at the beginning it was a little bit of a mess. The same way, we will need to train that skill about like a prompt skill. Like you need to train, so you need how to ask what you need and make sure that you will get exactly that what you need and pass all the information that the model or the AI may need.
Cool. Yeah, so definitely just something for people to consider when they're looking at integrating with some kind of AI, because and also, so depending on how you're using it, again, we're all still needed for projects. You can, like, don't even try to outsource a project manager, by the way. It's not going to work. So are there any other implications that people should think about? And then what I want to tell people is we've had a lot of content for this, so I think we're going to have a bonus session, a bonus evolve, like next week. Probably it's a decision I'm making right now on camera just because of the time. So we'll get to your questions right after this next part, just about any other implications.
Wait, we can ask ChatGPT if that's a good question.
Gordon, I asked myself this time. I could, but my human intelligence told me it's taking longer than I thought it would.
Yeah.
And I should have known that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that we could talk about following up, because there's implications, especially for developing websites and stuff that we need to take into account.
Yeah.
One of the things, just a follow up on Clemente's, he's talking about imaging and how great it's getting. For a long time, you were able to take a look at an image and from a photographer's eye, you could see that depth of field may not just be right. So there might be parts of the image that didn't fit into the plane that it's in, or things like that. And then the skin may be too perfect, or a man's whiskers may be uniformly put on their face. And so now AIs are now taking and introducing defects so that it looks more like a realistic photo. So.
See, I knew if I was uploading my image to that thing to like,
it might put a couple pimples here and there. Yeah.
Well, it's probably going to say, "Oh, now we have a face that we can like use to go, with the too." We'll forget you guys. All right, cool. So yeah, I think we'll just we'll hold another session. We'll announce it, so those who are watching, look out for that. But maybe we'll just go into questions now. Is that okay with everybody? I know you don't have a choice. You're on camera.
All right. I'll go ahead and start with some of the questions that we got. The first one was, would this be applicable to SEO metadata fields in page properties? And could that be something automated at the time of page publication, or should the author, if the author forgets to enter those details in? So could metadata could AI populate metadata at the time of publication if the author user forgets to do that?
Yep, definitely. Actually, what we did for the POC was with a content fragment, but the same thing you could do it with a page and just send everything in the page to the ChatGPT. Well, not ChatGPT, sorry, to the AI tool that you're using, until ask for all the keywords, and that will automatically can complete your keywords field or whatever you need, like title, of course. But yeah, definitely that's something that it's, and the good thing about it is pretty straightforward to do it. I mean, if we're talking about AEM, we all know about workflows, listeners, and all that. So it's a matter of playing with workflow, listener, and calling the API, the right API, and getting the results. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then next question, would AI translation be...
Just one more follow-up on the SEO part of it is because a lot of the infrastructure that we use now, we're based off of a search, for SEO, and we're making changes to be able to get more organic traffic. Using AI and like ChatGPT, now people are going to be asking ChatGPT more than they would ask Google, and so that's going to be another aspect that we're going to have to take in account, and we maybe have to look at how do we hook into GPT in order to get that traffic coming to us.
Yeah, the Bing GPT from Microsoft.
Yeah,
I think it's a game changer for sure.
From search, yeah. But
because right now it's actually true. Like I'm planning a travel to somewhere, and okay, I will visit the website that he posts in the response because he always has the links to the website. But it takes, even though it takes a lot of time, there are many websites that I will skip watching because the information he provides is actually that valuable that I can actually work with that only. And I think that will impact in the SEO eventually once we are more used to, because right now it's still in beta, and I think you have like 20 prompts, or the last time I checked, you have like 20 prompts in the Bing GPT. I'm not sure how often does it refresh, but we'll see how that evolves in the future.
All right. And so the next question would be, would AI translation be good enough to replace a translation service?
I mean, yeah, I think everything depends on the sensibility of the data. I mean, of course, with AI translation, you may have some disadvantages, like the quality may not be good enough for you. If we're talking about, I know, a pharmaceutical company, of course, you have to be a little bit more care about how you translate certain things. So that comes in hand with like the context. Usually that AI won't have exact context, at least at the beginning. And like, I don't know, cultural nuances you have to take into account too. Like, so I think it's a yes or no for me.
Yeah.
Well, I think it'll get you part of the way there, but it won't get you to the finish line. To your point, Clemente, the culture, and culture is always changing. There's things that happen that and if they come into our vernacular, those things, because the AI has to be trained on a data set. It may be slow to pick up on some of those things, where a human translator will be able to bring that in.
And I just added that. I mean, Clemente and Jorge, I think you've experienced that just working with us. Like if I would try to talk to you in Spanish by translating something in Google, for example, that's not good. I should just probably try speaking what I know and move on.
Yeah, but for example, I think AI translation would be very powerful for real-time translation. Being able to assist the Evolve, for example, and Clemente and I be able to speak in Spanish and you hear the English version of it, I think is really more powerful than what we understand right now about translation for chat or text. I think that side of the path, I think is a very good one, where AI has a very, very poor impact there.
Yeah, like a live.
Actually, I think there are some things that we should be able to do it right now with different tools. Not sure if it's already built.
Oh, you're on mute, Payton.
Oh, you're muted, Payton.
And what she said was profound too, I bet.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So there's a couple more questions. We're going to try to get through as much as we can until the top of the hour. So we'll just keep going. Do you know if Adobe provided a way to integrate Firefly into AEM or dynamic media yet?
I think it hasn't yet.
Yeah,
He will,
right.
because they said that it will be integrated, but not yet. I haven't seen any news. It's been a very busy week for me. I want to go into the Firefly documentation and all that stuff that they are building, but I haven't read anything yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the next step to it. I mean, it may not be there now.
Maybe in the next Evolve in June.
They're both under Sensei, so they should play it well together, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
right
they release something in the next Adobe Summit or something.
Okay, so not yet, basically.
And okay, so then AEM offers some auto tagging capabilities. How does this solution compare and contrast with the OOTB features?
I guess maybe that question came in when you, Jorge,
I think when the demo, the image alt description. We were actually using the Adobe Smart Tags, okay, in order to create the description. But my point is, for the examples with Clemente and I did when researching this, it creates some tabs that are not really relevant to the image in a way that we saw the image, okay? There are some tags that they refer to business or something like that, okay, but it's not really for generating an alt description, okay? So that's what the point of the visual model is, because they are targeted to that. And if you have the image, you have all the information available. If you create some keywords from it and use that to generate the alt description, you are missing a lot of information. You're transforming millions of pixels just to 5 or 8 keywords. So that's basically the comparison of the contrast of using the out-of-the-box tagging. Not sure if that's exactly what you are asking, because I'm missing some context of when exactly was the question.
Okay.
I think just to sum up that is like, we used smart tagging, so we didn't replace smart tagging. We just use it as a background to create the description. That was one option that you have. You can use the tags that AEM create for you and create a description based on that. Or the other option that we didn't do it yet is what Jorge mentioned about having another system, because Adobe doesn't provide this, having another system to actually look at the images and provide the description from looking at it instead of getting description from the start, from the tags.
Yeah, similar to what ChatGPT-4 enabled when I think they already did enable the vision on the ChatGPT-4. But you can actually upload a photo and talk with the chat about what's happening there. And
when
the
you
answers
take the
were
context of the image, image and the page, then it's gonna be much more powerful.
Yeah. And that's actually the way of creating a description should be. But this way we wanted to integrate with already tools we already have to see how exactly can we use them for creating content.
Yeah, with smart tags, you may have, it may generate 20, 30 tags, but you'll skip through some that are very generic and not.
Yeah, to be honest, we didn't train the tags though. We didn't train the tags. Maybe if you train the tags, you actually get more value.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, and then the last question is how did you integrate AI into AEM? I feel like this was in the beginning too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the demo also. We went through the libraries. I just posted the link in the chat. OpenAI provides some libraries for the community. We use the OpenAI Hub from Theo Canning, it's called. We just integrated in the workflow, which enable all the endpoints available. Back in the day, right now it should be probably, we will have to update it. But yeah, we basically built our services with this library. There is no out-of-the-box connection or anything.
Sorry, Jorge. It's like there's a delay, I think. And we're happy to demo it. Like if you want to see more or something, or just see it again, like just reach out and we can do that.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're kind of coming up on the end. I know we had more content. We want to let everything have its moment, so we're going to do a kind of a part 2, probably a little bit shorter than this, to talk about the future of AI and all of that. So stay tuned for that. We'll send out emails to everyone that got this email today. But thank you everyone for attending. If you're not already, follow our LinkedIn community for updates on future webinars and all of our blog posts from 3Share. So thank you again, everybody, for attending, and thank our panel for taking time out of their day to speak on AI, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day, everyone.
Have a great day. Bye.